It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 179 today. Really glad that you're with us to dive in and enjoy clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. As you know, we were born naked. This is how God intended for us to live. So when we get totally clothes-free, we are really happy. You notice the joy that comes over you and the stress is reduced. Health benefits increased. Well, there's a reason for that. It's how we were supposed to live. So hopefully you can be with us clothes-free today during the entire show. So come on in. We have the pool ready to go. The hot tub is fired up. And Stephanie Brown from Indiana Naturist is our special grill master today. She flew down from Indiana last night and is cooking up a terrific lunch. We can't wait to partake with that. We have fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, and out back we have putting greens. We have a hammock. We have bocce ball action. You come back in, and we have the cigar bar. We have extra lotion, chairs, towels, you name it, everything for you to come in and enjoy clothes-free living for all the right reasons. On today's show, part 2 with ERICH SCHUTTAUF from ANNR and Lisa Monroe. In fact, I hear her now. It's time for the one, the only, the terrific, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the one of a kind, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Stone. I'm doing quite well, thank you, on this very fine Saturday morning.
Mr. Stone, I thought I told you it's King Stone around here.
Yeah, you said that, but that's not going to happen.
I mean, Mr. that's what you called your teacher in high school or something.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm, at a loftier position in life with you than some guy you had for English back in 10th grade.
Oh my! So I'm supposed to say Your Majesty to you and that sort of thing?
Yeah, usually Mr. King Stone, the great King Sir, works really well, but I don't insist on all those words every time. So, pick and choose whatever you want to do. But
actually, you have mentioned the King Sir before to me. No.
Okay. Well, as you noticed, you haven't noticed because they only do this when you're not here, but that's what everybody around here calls me. I've asked them to not call me all those names in your presence, but when you leave, they say, "Mr. King, sir, can I?" "Mr. King, sir, what about?" But I say, "Oh, don't do that when Lisa's here. She'll, get ticked or whatever." So you've probably not heard that, but maybe I'll record it one day and send it to you.
I haven't, and trust me, Miss Lisa would definitely have something to say about that. All right, so I think you'll answer to anything, actually, but that's okay.
That's true. Just don't call me. Call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for dinner or coffee, and then we'll get along just fine.
This is very true. So,
all right. Well, as everybody knows, we stopped accepting paid work. We really did stop taking paid work. Gave it up to do this show for free because we wanted to majorly contribute to the naturism community. And based upon your feedback, that's exactly what's happened, and we appreciate your cards and letters, better known as direct messages and emails, about the impact that we've had. But there are expenses with the show, and we turn to Patreon, and we turn to you. Can you help us meet expenses? And you've done that really well. And on every show, we try to highlight at least 2 people who are new PPPs, paying Patreon peeps. Lisa Monroe, who do we have today?
We have today Adam and Gary, and we really appreciate them joining in and hope they have a good time with us as on the Patreon page, and we really appreciate their support.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Gary. And thank you to all PPPs. And if you'd like to join us, go to patreon.com, find us Naked Nudists and Naturists, or the link is in every single show note, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, you name it. It's on our website as well. And we thank you in advance, and we thank you very much. Lisa Monroe, what about merchandise? Anything going on there?
Merchandise is going well. And as you know, we have 4 different lines now of different slogans that you can have. And I just wanted to say that I did add a few more things to the undercover NNN line that just has our little red leaf on it. I just did a beach towel. So there you can take it to the regular beach and nobody will know that you really wish you had your clothes off. So there you go.
Well, that's not a bad way to do it, except I guess sometimes we have to go to a textile beach. I know I do
Yes.
with other people.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a good substitute. But you know what you really want to do, and maybe the next day dump those friends and get to the nude beach, and maybe that's a better way to go.
Absolutely. At least you can take a little bit of it with you on those
That's right.
excursions.
That's right. How do people find our merchandise page?
They go to nakednudistandnaturist.com and just look for the in shop on the menu bar and click on that, and everything's right there for you to browse through and see what you want.
All right, very good. A few weeks ago, we read a letter from Brian. He's a gentleman who's living with his girlfriend. He's a nudist. She's not, although signs that she's coming around. There's another woman about his girlfriend's age who lives with them. He's a nudist. She's not. His girlfriend's daughter lives with them. He's a nudist. She's not. And the friend of his girlfriend has a husband. They're having some marital trouble. They're living apart right now. That husband often comes over. He's not a naturist either, but Brian gets to be nude the whole time in front of 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of them. They've worked this out beautifully because, again, clothes-free living, for all of the right reasons, is just that. Whatever you do with clothes on, you just start doing it with your clothes off, not making it a sexual thing or a big production. You don't make a big production when you walk in with a T-shirt on. You just have a T-shirt on, you walk in. Same with nudity, and that's the way God intended it to be, and that's how we live around here. So Brian sent a follow-up letter, and at least I'll go ahead and begin this because I really only have to read the first 3 words, and then we could stop. He says, "Hello, Mr. Stone." I could stop right there. He put me first, and really whatever comes after this doesn't matter as much as that. I'm sure you agree.
Of course. I'll definitely agree with you. We'll just keep you happy. Go ahead.
Wow. I haven't heard those words from you in a long time, maybe ever. Maybe ever, but we'll move on for now.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Stone and Mrs. Monroe, or Ms. maybe. Is it Mrs. Monroe or Ms.? We should clarify that for the
Definitely
listeners.
Ms. Although I must say that that Mrs. Monroe made me think of that old British TV show, The Avengers, with the Special Agent Steed and Mrs. Peel. And I remember watching that reruns of that as a kid and wanting to be Mrs. Peel because she was like the first real strong, active action figure kind of female on television and kind of paved the way. And she's really cool. So yeah, Mrs. might work, but it's not. It's Ms. So there you go.
All right. What about Barbara Feldon in the Get Smart series with Don Adams, I think his name was?
Yes, Barbara Feldon was terrific, and she kind of played the very parody of Mrs. Peel. I think it was what that was all intended to be, but she could not replace the real thing.
That's true. That's true. All right, so hello, Mr. Stone and Mrs. Monroe, Ms. maybe, in no particular order. See, Brian was doing so well there. He put me first. Now he's saying it basically doesn't matter. Brian, you just lost some points, but we'll move on, if that's okay with you, Lisa. Or Mrs.
Fine.
Monroe, Ms. Monroe.
Ms.
Hello, Mr. Stone and Mrs. Monroe, Ms. maybe, in no particular order, but for me personally, it has a ring to it this way. You both compliment each other in such a professional manner. It makes no difference. We are all nudists and equal. Now, I have to stop there. Brian, I've been called a lot of names in my life, but professional? I think you've crossed the line here. What is going on with this guy, Lisa?
I think he probably is quite astute, but I'm assuming that some point in time in your life you're a professional, so that that'll work.
I try to act professional at least 5 minutes a day, so maybe he caught me in one of those 5 minute moments.
That's about the length of it, so that's about right.
Jeez.
No, I'm actually teasing. Brian, you're a good guy.
I should hang around my enemies more. They don't put me down as much as Lisa Monroe does. But anyway, we're moving on now.
We do it lovingly here,
That's
remember?
true. Let's call it that and move on, as they say in the business. Anyway, Brian, the letter goes on. Now, with my introduction order explained, I just listened to episode 174, in which you discussed my letter, and I am more than thrilled. I mentioned my girlfriend and our living arrangement, and I wanted to delve a little more into that. My girlfriend, Amy, and I feel comfortable mentioning her name now, as she said I could, just celebrated our 1 year anniversary. I moved in with Amy, who lives with her best friend of 40-plus years. Amy's 20-year-old daughter resides with us, and the husband of her best friend visits the home often. And if you'll take it from there.
I sure will. Because of my life before her and not being allowed to practice nudism when I met Amy and the rest of the household, I explained first off that I'm a nudist and I will do everything in my power to keep it private, which I did. During the next 3 months or so, I was asked questions about nudism, and I would gladly answer them. They were under the same impression as most of society that consisted of swingers, sex addicts, and nonstop orgies, etc. But the more I explained how we are not like that, I explained that nudists and beaches and resorts do exist that do those things. But to be a true nudist for all of the right reasons is exactly the opposite.
And for all the right reasons, he put in quotation marks, which is our theme here. Everything should be done for all of the right reasons. Nothing nefarious, untoward, sexualized, none of that jazz, for all the right reasons. Sorry to interrupt. Continue on.
Quite all right. After about 3 months or so, her best friend said I could be naked around her and it wouldn't bother her. We had become and still are very close friends, and Amy said she wasn't the least bit nervous about me being nude around her best friend because she knew it was nothing sexual. So I started being nude around Amy and her best friend so much that Amy sleeps late in the morning, so a lot of times her best friend and I would be having a conversation at the table, the couch, whatever, and I would be nude and everything was fine.
Well, see, that's the way it's supposed to work. Whatever you do with clothes on, you do with clothes off. It's not a big deal. You just move and groove through life as you normally would. And it sounds like his girlfriend and the friend of his girlfriend are accepting of that. Thank goodness for that, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's a real important point here that Brian took the responsibility of being the one respectful of the household, that he would practice his nudism in private. And that, I think, probably over the months gained the respect of the people in that household and began to understand, get to know him better, and know that, he was who he was and what he's told them about naturism was correct.
Yeah, that's very true. I'll move on now. This is the part that amazes me. Her best friend and her husband are living apart right now and trying to save their marriage. I have gotten to know him very well, and I was told by his wife that he said it was okay to be nude when he was around, and he was fine with being nude around his wife. He was okay with it. To me, that is trust, which I didn't realize I had displayed in myself. Trying to work on a 30-year marriage, but to be okay with another man nude around her on a daily basis and not be jealous or nervous is something extraordinary. And I suppose that it is, except when we break it down to the basics, clothes-free living for all the right reasons, as long as you're just being natural and being your true self, nothing extraordinary about it, totally natural. And if you'll take it from there.
I had also explained to him often about my nudism and what it's about, and sex has nothing to do with it. The 20-year-old daughter had walked in the living room to talk to us, and I had forgotten I wasn't dressed. After she left, I apologized to Amy as it wasn't intentional, and her daughter's never said anything about it, and it's happened a few times, and it appears she is okay with it. So I now sit in the living room with all of them. Outside by the fire pit are just doing housework, naked, and everyone else is perfectly fine about it. In fact, if I am dressed, each one of them has told me you don't have to be dressed. Not one of them is a nudist, but they understand and respect how important it is to me. One of the reasons is your podcast and how you explain what naturism is about. I believe another thing that's helped was that I never push it on anyone and will answer their questions, and I have never purposely been naked around anybody, and I honestly believe that has helped a lot.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And finishing up, I am happy to say Amy and I are going to our first clothing optional resort in Michigan, and Amy agreed to check it out as she tried topless in our backyard and loved the sun on her bare chest. And this resort allows you to be clothed if need be. I just wanted to say thank you to you guys and everyone's hard work in promoting nudism. It is both directly and indirectly that your podcast has helped me and my household tremendously show that nudism is great for all the right reasons. Thank you so much for discussing my letter. And that is from Brian. And Brian has it all figured out, and so do the other four people. He can be nude in front of one, two, three, or all four of them. And if you're listening and got a little kick out of that, like, whoa, I can be naked as a jaybird in front of three chicks and a dude, well, that's the exact wrong reaction to have, and you would have to check yourself on that. But if you say, wow, Brian can just walk into the room with these three women and this guy naked as a jaybird, nobody has a problem with it, great, because that's how it's supposed to be. You want to wear a blue shirt, she wants to wear a pink shirt, I don't want to wear any shirt, should be okay. Yes. And that's what we're striving for here. Lisa Monroe, any comments?
And I think that there's a very important point with this letter, and I think Brian has shown what true naturism is. He has shown that he has a love and a commitment to it, but he also has respect for people who don't understand it. And because of that, and because he was fortunately with a group of people who learned to respect and like him and his, ideas, that they came around. They're okay now with it. So he's done the right thing here. He has shown them how naturism should be, and they have responded the way we hope people would. And that, okay, it's fine. There's nothing untoward about this. You got your clothes off. He could be running around in a Speedo. What would be the difference? It would be better to be naked than running around the Speedo. So I think it's a remarkable situation that he's done. And I think bringing this story to our listeners is how everyone grows more and more. And that's why we love the hearing from everyone and their experiences.
Yeah, very well said. And we've likened it before in earlier episodes to music. Let's say you're living in a home with somebody. Let's just say himself and Amy. And let's just say, for sake of example, Brian loves classical music. Now, let me change that around. Amy loves classical music. Brian loves heavy metal, banging his head against the wall kind of music. So does she say, Brian, you better never play heavy metal music in this house because I'm a classical music lover? No, we would expect her to say, go ahead and play what you want. Just be within the limits, be respectful. Don't get crazy and, pull the plaster off the wall because it's so loud I can't hear my music. But if you're in one room and I'm in the other and we each have our own music on, that should work out fine. You want to come in and talk to me about heavy metal, or I want to talk to you about classical? Well, let's do that too. Same with naturism. You want to be naked, I want to be clothed. Yeah, we can work that out. And they have. And now she's even considering trying it. The nudism, not the heavy metal music. That was just an example.
Although she might be into heavy metal. We don't know that. Man, it's good if she is,
true.
or it doesn't matter if she isn't. But
That's
yes,
very
and
well
I think
said.
the fact that she is actually going with him to a clothing optional resort and actually getting that sense of the fact that there are all a bunch of other people who feel like he does. And that will really encourage her to share with him, his passion, and she may find it becomes her passion too. But however she comes out of it, she has shown that respect of him and what he believes, and she is willing to share what she can with him. And what more could anyone ask from a relationship? I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, very well said. Brian, thank you for sending that letter, your highly complimentary terms, and even calling me a professional behind my back. We'll let that go this time. Well, Lisa Monroe, let's head for the hills. And if you promise to stay naked as a jaybird, not a stitch on you anywhere as you are now, we'll have you back at the end of the show. Is that a deal?
It's a deal. I'll be here.
All right. See you in a bit. The very terrific Lisa Monroe. She does it all around here as she goes kind of like headbanging her way out of the studio today. Wow. I've never seen that move before. We'll have to talk about that after the show, but we appreciate Lisa Monroe very much. Well, you are listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 179 today. Really glad that you're with us, hoping you're able to enjoy clothes-free living for all of the right reasons while listening to today's show. And now let's get to part two of my interview with ERICH SCHUTTAUF, the longtime executive director for ANNR. Part two with ERICH SCHUTTAUF. We are talking to the executive director this morning for the American Association for Nude Recreation, ERICH SCHUTTAUF. Really happy you're here this morning, ERICH, to just tell us what it's all about. You're the head honcho, so to speak. And I want to get into duties, and not too specifically, but just in general, because these are the kinds of questions we get here. We have a president, and right now that's Linda Weber. We have an executive director, that's you. And I know a lot of cities where they have a mayor and a director of city services or a city manager or whatever. And people always want, oh, why do we have both? What does the manager do? What does the mayor do? And I'm just going to take a shot at this. And if I'm 100% wrong, feel free to tell me and correct me. But you are there to run the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, the down in the weeds. Here's what we're going to do. Here's why we're going to do it. And let's go do it. Kind of like you've described, fighting these different cases and advocating and doing preventative work, with lawmakers. Whereas the president, and you've been there quite a while, the president only gets 2 years, 4 if they get reelected. And they're more, would you say, the political arm, the public relations arm, the one who reaches out to people and brings them in. And then, as I mentioned, you do nitty gritty work day to day. Is that reasonably close to the truth or no?
Yes, I think that it is.
Okay.
We're much more administrative in nature.
Yeah.
The president of the association is a volunteer position, but they are the face of AANR for their tenure and often for years afterwards, also as an ombudsman and general face for the association, for the industry. And they also deal with the internal issues between members and clubs. We have a board of trustees. We should talk about that. And those trustees, there's 7 of them, elected from the various regions of AANR, representing everything from Canada to the Midwest, the Southwest, the East Coast, and the West. These, and the Northwest, all of these areas are dealt with on some individual level. All politics is local, as they used to say. And so the issues that people have, the president helps to try to resolve the needs, budget, and everything else within the association and balance the treatment that the members of the association want in their respective regions. So, yes, they are the face of ANNR on something like a USA Today article, as Linda did so well.
Yeah.
But they're also chairing a board meeting and, helping to preside over something so that there's civil debate and discourse about the direction of the association and all of those things. And people do it very well. They give a lot of time. I will say that no one can possibly appreciate how much time it takes to be an AANR president, as Linda is, or a region president, resolving the issues and things that are in their respective regions. They spend a lot of hours, and it's usually at night, having to take care of a situation or address it. So they don't get enough thanks. And they have my heartfelt thanks. And then we have committees of the association too. These are dedicated to specific topics such as public relations and government affairs, as we've talked about, and all kinds of other things. There's one to cover our convention each year. And right now, we have a president of her region, Jenny A.G., who is, or I should say, a trustee in her region, along with Andy Rogers, who is a president in the Northwest region. And these folks are doing everything they can to make our convention in August, a very rewarding experience. And so they're working a lot of hours to make sure that we have a great gathering of people, the first weekend in August. So,
Well, speaking of which, we had Linda Weber on the show recently, and she said her husband figured out that she works 6 hours a day on ANNR. And I told her he needs to get a new calculator because obviously that one is broken. I don't believe 6 hours for a minute, just based on some of the things she's dropped along the way. She works a heck of a lot more than 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all a volunteer position. So you're right. Everybody who volunteers for ANNR, it's not I'll drop in 5 minutes a month and see what's happening. You're busting tail, and that's kind of the energy behind the organization, right?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Our region presidents, and I left out Florida. I mean, our Florida region president works incredibly hard also.
Yeah.
And as you say, more than 4 hours a day. It's a full-time job, it seems, with overtime. Just without the paycheck for them that comes with it.
Yeah, and the rate of overtime is the rate of your regular salary as a volunteer, which is zero. So, but you do it for the good cause. Same thing we do here. We don't charge for this show. We don't. We're affiliated with ANNR, with the official podcast, the American Association for Nude Recreation. We give 24/7 visibility on all of our platforms. We mention on every show, and we do all of that for free because that's what it takes to get the word out. And the volunteers do the same thing. So that is great to hear. It really is great to hear that you have a team at the office, which is pretty small by organizational standards. I think we figured out before we started including somebody who's not there every day, about 10 people, including yourself. Is that about right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's about right. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. 10 people for what, 25,000 or even more members. That's kind of incredible, isn't it?
It is. And the people, they're good at their jobs. They know what they're doing to serve the membership department, to make sure that people get their membership card. Other people who are helping to put together the bulletin, as we talked about, our monthly publication that's both in electronic and in print, our social media team, and the people who help get messages out day in, day out in social media and raise that presence. And they're good at what they do, or a lot of efforts, I should say, but not a lot of on the ground people to do it.
One of the things we've heard over the years is people will say, I walked in the ANNR office and everybody had clothes on. It's like, well, you're walking into a business. You're not walking into a nudist resort. But when I talked to Mitch London a few years ago when he was president, he said sometimes some of the people at the ANNR office are not even nudists themselves. We hire them for their expertise in a particular job. So I thought that was important to point out. Not everybody in the ANNR office is the naturist, but they excel at what they do. Does that kind of sort of right? Does that make sense?
That's true. Most of them can at least identify with what we do and why. So, I mean, that's a critical thing. But you are right that we care about skill set, and that you have to have, somebody who's going to understand how to put together an article in desktop publishing. It's a different skill set from an attorney. It's a different skill set from a membership department person who can process things very, very quickly with the keystrokes, watching them serve the number of members that they do and take the phone calls they do as quickly as they do. It takes all types, but you're right. There's different levels of that. Certainly, we're proud to talk about what we do, and I think you're going to find that that's how it is for a lot of us. So, it's on the job, but off the job, because it means taking a cell phone call at the time when it's needed to help us resolve that. Our social media department, getting things up and processed. They're all incredible volunteers and professional people.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's very similar to, let's say you have an executive or a higher level person working for the Burger King Corporation, but they take their family to McDonald's on Saturday afternoon. Just because they work for Burger King doesn't mean they believe, or they weren't hired because they love Burger King. They were hired for their skill set to make Burger King, as good as they are, or as successful as they are. So to be really clear, when you walk to the ANNR office, you're not going to see a bunch of naked people flying around. You're going to see clothed people working their back ends off, right?
Right. But
Yeah.
when they get home, they're likely to go back to homes at Cypress Cove or their own backyard.
Yeah.
Certainly that was the case with my family. We lived as naturists primarily, and have always done that, and it's been a big part of our lives. But you're right, it not in the day-to-day office. We get visits from the postman, and we get visits from the pest control office and the paper shredding companies and everything
Yeah.
else. And so, yes, we work as a business right there on Main Street, and that's how we obviously have to do those things. But when we go home, many of us enjoy naturism, when we go back home. And 2 weeks ago, none of us were going naked because it was 30 some odd degrees in Florida, and it was way too cold to do anything except bundle up. So, we don't shed our common sense, as nudists say. We shed our clothes, but
That's
not
right.
our common sense.
Yeah, it was 30 degrees, but with a wind chill of 10 degrees, at least early in the morning. So yeah, you got to have clothes on at that point, or you're just being silly, right?
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Well, we've spent a lot of time talking to you, the executive director of the American Association for Nude Recreation, and we haven't talked about much nude, naked, naturist stuff at all. It's all business and legislation, which is important that people understand. As I like to say, this is how the sausage is made. If you want sausage, you go to the grocery store and buy it, and probably don't give two thoughts about how it came to fruition. Well, if you find out how it's made, it's a whole lot of work by a whole lot of people, which is what you guys do. But if somebody says, I live naked 25/8, I have a membership at a nudist resort, I hit the naked beach every chance I get, why in the world would I need to join the American Association for Nude Recreation? I can do this stuff without joining. And I think you've given many of the reasons, but anything else you want to say? Why should somebody join today? As we say on every show, they should.
Well, first of all, if that's the way you approach life, we certainly understand and we can identify
Yeah.
with that. So here to somebody who wants to live nude as much as possible. But ANNR can be a voice when you can't. And that's what our message would also be. It's all very good to have those things and to live that way, but who is going to speak up for the mother who is facing child custody challenges because their family experiences nude recreation, and there's somebody else in that family, or a former spouse, who's going to raise an objection? Who is going to speak for them and be able to be there? Who's going to be there for someone who loses a job or is facing adverse employment action because their boss found out that they do this in their off time, and now they're facing serious challenges when they have government government positions, and now find themselves on the wrong side of an inquiry. We intervene on behalf of those folks all the time, and that takes more than just, I enjoy my birthday suit, this is where I live, this is how I'm going to choose to live. This is about who is going to be their voice, and who's going to go to lawmakers and say, you need to understand what it is that we do and why, and do that while wearing a suit and tie in a professional setting, so that the first impression that a lawmaker gets of a nudist, and we all know we've met nudists that we just don't know that they are, but
Right.
the lawmakers and the people who matter, all of these people need to be educated. That is what your AANR is doing, to raise the awareness and the mainstream of nude recreation. Again, an AANR is a great place. AANR.com educates. they're estimating that it's going to be about 1 million visits a year. That is what the PR team is telling us now it's going to be up to. 1 million people being educated, sometimes in just 30 seconds on a website, sometimes going through every page of that site to learn more. So, it's that's what AANR is doing, and that's the reason to belong. There are some great benefits that we have. We typically bring 20% savings when you visit an AANR club on their grounds fees, typically. And there is the monthly publication, the bulletin, and the opportunity to participate in regional and AANR level conventions. All of these things are nice also to have, but I think the advocacy that you get and that your fellow nudists get is the reason that I would say that you support the association. We gratefully request that, as well as donations to the program, because it takes a lot to do those things.
Yeah. And the fee, as I understand it, is only $65 a year. It's not like you got to pay, 25 grand. It's $65 and you're in for a year, correct?
It's 65 and actually less in some cases.
Yeah.
If you join through a club, they're able to extend some savings or add the benefits on. You become part of at some level of a club and are able to get a club newsletter, those kind of things as added benefits in a club. But it is about $65 or less that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's called dual enrollment. If two people live in the same house, they get a few bucks off.
They do. If it's a dual enrollment, and that's what's important is it helps us to bring synergies and cost savings. I mean, if we're sending a bulletin by mail, obviously it's only one copy. But even when you talk about data entry of a membership record, there are some synergies and savings. And as you point out, it's when two members share the same address that we're able to extend those. And that's typically on a direct membership where they belong to us directly. If a person joins through a club, that's a little bit different sometimes too. But we're able to extend those savings because of the synergies, the simple one entry or main record created, and those kind of things. That is the savings that we're able to pass on of about $15 savings.
Yeah, and there were some clubs, especially non-landed clubs, and I mentioned this to Linda Weber when she was on. When you pay the membership fee, part of that goes to the ANNR office in Kissimmee, Florida. Part of it stays with the non-landed club. And now the non-landed club can waive their part of the fee, which reduces it even more. But that's club to club. So, but that's out there too, right?
That's correct. And one thing I don't want to overlook is that a portion of it goes to your region of North America where you are. So in Florida, for example, the AANR Florida region takes and leverages the support that you're giving as a member, and it makes it regionalized, localized. The same thing is true for Canada, that, if you're a member in Canada and belong directly, it is helping advocacy at the provincial level of government up in Canada, the same as the Southwest, Texas, the West Coast, and so on. So the regions also get support out of those dues that we're talking about to make some very impressive initiatives happen, but they're localized, and that's what's great, because what works well in the Northeast with its weather patterns that we talked about and everything is not going to necessarily work in the Southwest. And so, the great thing about our regions are that they let us put a little bit of local flavor into the efforts we have as well.
Yeah, very well said. And again, we're talking to ERICH SCHUTTAUF today, the executive director for the American Association for Nude Recreation. And ERICH, as the executive director, you oversee everything. You're the point guy. What do you see as some of the short-term or even long-term goals for ANNR?
Well, one of them is definitely, as we approach the 100th anniversary of the association to look forward to the next 100 years and where North America is going to be on the subject, and to do that. There are a couple of legal cases that we're working on right now. We hope to be successful at those, or at least move the legislative ball on some of those. There's at least 2 or 3 major child custody matters throughout North America we're working on right now, that we are working to achieve successful outcomes for those parents who needed our help. We are also in the area of talk freedom. This is a big one that has emerged in recent years. It's an opportunity to talk about how men and women should be treated equally. And that comes right down to, do you have to wear a shirt on the beach? And how are you approached by law enforcement for simply being yourself? Those are issues that we have been working on. And we want to, in the really short term, have a successful AANR convention next summer in Oregon. The Willamettans is our host club. They always do an incredible job. They have already been announcing the theme for that convention, which promises to be a lot of fun. Steampunk is their theme, and they have some neat ways that they're already promoting that. And the Willamettans is one of the most fun clubs to have a convention. They are like summer camp used to be. They are in a beautiful setting in the woods of Oregon, and it's just a great place. And I've been there a couple of times for conventions in the past. We think that this is going to be one of the better conventions that you're going to have in a long time, because they come together with a lot of volunteer spirit. So when you say what is short term and long term, well, we want that to be a successful convention. We also are working on the issue of SpaceX and protecting the Canaveral National Seashore. We are working for a successful outcome there, because when a major space exploration industry that is very vital to Florida's economy is on the scene, we respect the role that it has in Florida's economy and what it's doing for technology. But every time one of those launches goes up, there are people who may get turned away at the 2 nude beaches that they're used to visiting on that seashore. And when they are, that leads to a lot of unmet expectations, a lot of disappointment. So we're working to make sure that the number of launches at that beach stays reasonable, and at the same time, finding a way for us to all coexist, and maybe even additional places for people to enjoy. The Tampa Bay naturists in that area are working very well to get a sanctioned nude beach, and so a lot of people have been involved in the outpouring of that effort. So I know some of these tend to be local, but there are bigger issues. There's legislation to tackle. We want to competently respond to what are hundreds and hundreds of pieces of legislation pending right now, and to explain ANNR's position to those. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that will be in the next couple months, a lot of stuff in convention time in August, and long term, there's a lot of that too to go around.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out is you talked about legislation earlier, and trying to, they'll come up with a law. They're proposing a law to get passed that will affect the porno industry, but there's a little spillover into naked nudists and naturism, enjoying clothes for a living. However, they wrote it unintentionally. And you mentioned part of your job is to get in and say, hey, folks, hey, let's not do this, because and people, if they don't do this for a living or they're not around the legal procedure, because if something becomes a law, it's a whole lot harder and darn near impossible to change that law down the road. And it becomes part of case law for the next case down the road, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
And the same is true with victories. I mean, if you score a victory,
that's right.
now there's something that's there, a lasting precedent. It gives
Yep.
you another piece as you climbing the rock, another, foothold. But it's also true that yes, if you have an adverse ruling, it it will affect not only the state of law, but as people learn about it, it creates the perception, gee, will this create issues for me if I go and enjoy nude recreation? And we don't want that to be. Part of what we do is remind Florida and remind the whole country that nudism puts and contributes significantly to economies, both local and across the continent. And so, um, by reminding them that yes, SpaceX is bringing jobs to Central Florida, but the nude recreation business is bringing you about 7 billion with a B annually into the state's economy also, and being a reminder for things like that are important so that that doesn't get lost in the shuffle also.
Yeah. And you mentioned Tampa, and from what I
Yep.
understand, Pasco County, which is Tampa, is the most nudist resorts per capita of any county in the country, yet no nude beach. But I think we're getting close to getting one. Do you see it that way?
Oh, I think that they're doing an excellent job
Yeah.
of laying the groundwork for it. They've consulted people who are experts in government affairs who are working with them, and they're coaching them on how to build a team and to approach county government relations. And it's it's a project. You have to build it, and it takes a lot of pieces to build that successful thing. They are approaching it the right way, in my opinion. They are bringing the right tools to bear. That does involve quite a bit of fundraising to be able to pay for quality literature in a presentation, but also the kind of expertise who will tell you these are things that you should and shouldn't do. And they have been taking that direction, in my opinion, doing a good job with that. So it's important.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to hit on, you mentioned, top freedom. However,
Mhm.
is that the legal term we're using now, top freedom, or
I don't know, but
yeah,
we often refer to it as the top freedom, but it really is top freedom for all,
yeah,
right?
right, right, right.
And that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember even as a kid. Now, my mom dressed very well to go to work professionally, dress, and always looked like $1,000,000. But she would always complain about her bra. Oh, this bra really kills me. And anyway, I'll have a good day at work. And she'd come home the same way. I can't wait to get this stupid bra off. And I remember asking, even as a small child, well, why do you wear one if it gives you so much, displeasure? And I never got a good answer. It was just, that's just what we have to do. That's the expectation at work. And I
Right.
never, to this day, 158 years later, in my advanced age, I still have never gotten a good answer. I don't think any woman has either. And finally, over these last few years, I don't want to say people are waking up, but they're realizing, this is about as unfair of a law as we can possibly have, that men can be shirt free while cutting the grass. But women, you better have something on the top or you're going to be in some trouble. That's never made any sense, and it still doesn't, does it?
Well, and that's the gist of it. I mean, people should be able to do what is comfortable, especially when it comes to talk freedom. And we
Yeah.
agree, it's it's about equality or equality of opportunity. Fortunately, there are a lot of voices that are coming to bear right now to bring some change.
Yeah.
Nantucket Island a few years ago enacted an ordinance that allows stop freedom on their town beaches. That was upheld or endorsed by the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts at the time, who said if the citizens of that community on Nantucket have embraced that, then that they're free to do that. The Commonwealth isn't going to intervene. Well, that Attorney General is now the governor of the state of
Oh,
Massachusetts.
great.
So this is an example of a small, hard fought victory that then becomes a much bigger ticket issue, right? So, yeah, there's an example. Another example is in the federal court system, where federal judges are now starting to say, is there really a rational reason for treating men and women so differently? Not all courts have that view. In fact, there's splits among them, but at least the right people are asking the right questions. And
Yeah.
now here in Florida, ANNR is part of the effort to bring talk freedom and raise some of these constitutional issues, as well as just good old fashioned what's the right thing to do. And I'm glad that the association is part of that effort too. By the way, we're working with all the right people. The appellate division of the state of Florida reached out and worked with us in submitting our friend of the court brief on behalf of a woman cited, over talk freedom. And so they supplied the appellate technical side of it, and we supplied more of the why this is important and why it deserves to be changed. That's what
Yeah.
we were able to step in and do. So again, that's an example of being in the right places, the right time to change things, and I think that we will. I think that we're going to get there. And for my daughters and granddaughters, this is all important.
Yeah.
That they're able to make choices for themselves.
Yeah, very much so. And some people will tell me, well, if all the women start going topless effective tomorrow, there'll be a lot of guys out there leering and making comments. And, they're probably right the first day, but eventually it'll get to the point where, oh, there's Mary, there's Betty, there's Cindy, whatever. It won't be a big deal anymore. Kind of like, if you and I were to go in our front yard and cut the grass, very few people, maybe nobody, would say, whoa, there's a guy with no shirt cutting his grass. Let's stare at him for a while. They just say, oh, there's Eric cutting his grass. Well, eventually we'll get to the point, oh, there's Betty, planting some flowers in her front yard. It won't be a big deal because it isn't a big deal. We've made it one, society over the years. And if somebody had told me, when a woman, well, they're talking about the whole bathing suit, but a woman on top, for example, they'll have nothing on the top at all, naked from the waist up, except two parts covered by a little material, which actually draws attention to that area of the body. When they have nothing on, there's nothing drawing attention anywhere. It's just her, enjoying life. And that's what we want to get to, right?
Well, exactly. And you want to get to the point that people are appreciated for being, people.
Yeah.
And to me, there's nothing more special than a mother breastfeeding her infant child. Right?
Yeah.
And Florida, in particular, recognizes the ability to do that. In any place where a mom is allowed to be by law, she can breastfeed an infant as she should. And it's been that way for the better part of 20 years in this state. So if that's the case, the next logical question is, why on a beach or mowing the grass, as you point out, where some people choose to or not for comfort? And it may change from one day to another, and temperature changes things, but we think we should be matter of fact about treating men and women and all folks from all walks of life, and being there for them. So, and that really hasn't changed much at AANR over, a lot of years.
That's right. Coming up to 100 in about 5 years, right?
That's right. We're looking forward to that 100th anniversary of the association, and the members and the donors and the clubs that make up AANR do make it possible. We're very grateful for them. We're grateful for you at the podcast here, helping to change mindsets and helping people to understand what we're about and why we do this. And so thank you for what you lend to the effort too, Frank.
Oh, appreciate you saying that, Eric. And we do get a lot of emails on that. I won't give you the number because it's a little overwhelming to some people, but basically they're learning about naturism through us. They learn some things through ANNR, absolutely. They learn things from other people, but we're just, Lisa and I, we're just regular human beings. We're not, we don't have our PhDs in nudism, but we understand the joys of it and the benefits of it. And when they hear us talk about it so naturally and flowingly, not trying to hide in the back room, oh, yeah, we got naked the other night. No, it's just that's how we live. And they've come to accept it like, oh, my gosh, this is normal. And I know we brought a lot of people to the naturism front because they told us so. And I know we've gotten people to join ANNR because they've told us so. But that's how it works. Everybody working for the same cause. And before you know it, son of a gun, life is really good, isn't it?
It is. And one thing leads to another. One thing makes something possible that wasn't. And that's what's neat to watch how things evolve. And I wish that some people sometimes could see how these things come together and how every letter that someone writes, every check that someone sends to ANNR, every sponsorship that a club does, every successful social event that the team and the people on the social media team make happen, it all fits together and breaks the logjam over time. That's the luxury that I have. I get to see a lot of that happen and watch it as it happens, but it's all for the right reasons. And I would have been so glad to do this as a kid. I got into it fortunately as a college student and thing, but the truth of the matter is, whether you're 6 months old or 60 and beyond, you got to enjoy your birthday suit or have the opportunity to do it. And I'm very glad to be working in it. And Frank, I'm just delighted to have been able to talk to you today as well.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to meet and talk. Let's make this, it's the first time. It certainly won't be the last time. You're welcome to come on the show anytime. And we've been talking to ERICH SCHUTTAUF today, the Executive Director for the American Association for Nude Recreation. And ERICH, you're doing a great job over there. Just keep doing what you do. And we're not going to let you leave again. When you took that little period off in the middle, it's not going to happen again. You got to stay because we need you there. And again, ERICH SCHUTTAUF, the Executive Director for ANNR. ERICH SCHUTTAUF, go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon.
You too, Frank. Thanks.
Thank you. And that was ERICH SCHUTTAUF, the longtime Executive Director for ANNR. And on the next two Saturday shows, which will be episodes 181 and 183, our special guest will be Mitch London, the former ANNR president and currently the Secretary-Treasurer for ANNR. And we have many more guests all lined up, ready to go. And before we head for the hills until Wednesday's show, let's bring back in our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Welcome back, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for having me back. It's always kind of you to bring me back in.
Well, I have a feeling you would, if I didn't bring you back in, you would have a couple of words of wisdom for me, just putting it out there.
Maybe. But no, I would be just like, well, he's forgotten me. I'm crushed, but that's not okay.
No, I think it's safe to say once you meet Lisa Monroe, you don't forget Lisa Monroe. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
Not sure it's true, but I like that.
Yeah, it is. So you won't be forgotten around here. Anyway, a terrific interview today. And then next Wednesday's show, we will get together and talk about a variety of issues, just rocking and rolling. And believe it or not, next Wednesday, if you do the math, will be episode 180. Can you believe that?
No, I can't. I mean, it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling on. And it just, everything seems to be expanding at this moment, and it's just terrific. So, we thank everyone who's been joining Patreon. We thank everyone who's been listening. We see those numbers growing, and it's just amazing. I mean, this has been our best month ever for Patreon. So we're really excited about that, and just thankful that people, feel comfortable enough and enjoy the show enough that they want to join in that different type of environment for us. So thanks, everybody.
Yep, very much so. Rocking and rolling, moving and grooving, having a great time doing it.
Yep.
And Lisa Monroe, again, if you promise to stay close-free until Wednesday, we'll get together on Wednesday. Is that a deal?
It's certainly a deal, and everybody else do the same, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 179 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.